We have never been in the black since I got married. So in 1989 to now, we have never been in the black. So we live on borrowed money. And I'm not going to tell you how much money we currently borrow. It is obscene, but our assets cover our borrowings, so we feel safe. Potentially, if they stay as they are, the inheritance tax may mean that I'm the last generation farmer. It may completely dispel any sort of hope that my children have of carrying on.
Labour has announced a number of new measures aimed at farmers, including dropping the inheritance tax exemption.
Finally, we will reform agricultural property relief and business property relief. From April 2026, the first £1 million of combined business and agricultural assets will continue to attract no inheritance tax at all. But for assets over £1 million, inheritance tax will apply with a 50% relief at an effective rate of 20%. This will ensure that we continue to protect small family farms and three-quarters of claims unaffected by these changes.
But small family farms like this one in Peterborough say they will be affected.
Farming is a very asset-rich business. You can't run a farm without any assets. We can't suddenly cut a square metre of land and take it to go and buy some new shoes. It doesn't work like that. And we run on a lot of borrowed money.
In fact, figures from the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs contradict the Treasury's claims, arguing it could be up to three-quarters of farms that will have to pay the tax. Critics of the move say the Chancellor has failed to distinguish between hard-working, family farmers and wealthy landowners who use farmland to dodge taxes. My name is Ava Santina, and I'm at this small family farm in Peterborough to find out, could Labour's inheritance tax be the end of British farming?
So these are our single suckler cows. They calve once a year, which is now, it's the autumn season, so they're calving. They have one, occasionally twins, and they feed their calves themselves, so they're fed on milk and then a dry diet for 8 to 10 months, then they're weaned, and then they go into another shed to be fattened, and they go for meat for our farm shop at about age 20 months to 2 years, at which point they weigh 750 kilograms. Wow. They're born at about 50, so in 2 years they're 750 kilograms, fully grown, wow, fully mature. And then the mum goes on again to have another calf. So last job at night is to look them before bed to make sure they're not calving. If they're calving, then get up in the night and look at them again. If they're manned in the morning, they may have calved in the morning. And if they have calved, then we put them into a mothering pen, a nursery pen at the back with their mum, which is where they stay for 24 hours. So over here we've been digging out some of our ditches ourselves because the increased water level, the water table, because we're actually only sea level here. So the water table's been very high. It's been flooding our fields, which we've not been able to plant the crops, or when we have, the crops have rotted. So to avoid that, we're cleaning out the ditches even more to obviously drain off the water off the land.
It's very cyclical then, isn't it? So
it's very cyclical,
if one
yes.
thing falls out of kilter, can that upset the rest of the year?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So if the weather's very, very wet, we need to bring our cows inside earlier, which means we use our winter feed up quicker.
Right.
So we then, by the end of the winter, have to maybe eke it out or change their diet. If it's very dry, we're not able to make enough silage, so our winter stocks will be depleted. So we then have to think, how are we going to eke it out for the winter period? Mm-hmm. Again, there's cost involved, but our cows need feeding, whatever the cost of anything is. Again, finding people to want to do the job. You've got to want to do this job. It's not something you can think about, I'll change and do this, because working with animals is a skill. You can get trampled, squashed, kicked. It is a long process, growing a crop or producing an animal for beef. For example, the calves that are born there, we don't get a return on them until for 2 years. 2 years they don't bring us any money in at all. So to increase our output is a slow process, like a juggernaut. Once it gets rolling, it's rolling. But to actually start it is a big investment of time and capital. So inheritance tax, yes. Do we keep investing? Not quite sure. We'd already committed to build the shed before the budget. My son potentially was going to come home from being a civil engineer. He saw a bright future in agriculture. Events, for example, COVID, the Suez Canal, when the ship blocked the Suez Canal, the Ukraine war, lots of crises have happened, and farmers have actually, during those periods, felt very valued and felt very important, because we are a primary industry. We're food producers. Food is something that everybody needs. Mm-hmm. So now we are feeling absolutely, we've had the wind knocked out of our sails. We don't feel very important at all.
So you've been responding to global headwinds by becoming the primary providers rather
Correct.
than the country relying on imports.
Yep.
And now you feel that hasn't been valued?
No, not valued at all. I listened to Keir Starmer at the NFU conference in Birmingham in March last year, and he made me feel important. He made me feel valued. He made me feel that I was critical, or farmers were critical to the economy and to as an important British industry. And now we actually feel like we're nearly irrelevant, and that they don't want us to produce food in Britain any longer. Come on, girls! Very few people actually want to come into this industry. Currently, Peterborough City Council is selling off all their starter farms. So for a non-farming entrant to get into farming is now impossible. Previously, we came into this business as a tenant. That's all going to stop now, because all the county council's farms have been sold off for millions of pounds. There's no way in any longer.
Wow. So then it just means it's over?
It could well be over. And my son said, "Mum, do you realise that you may be the last generation farmer? If he doesn't come home and we don't carry on, or we're not able to carry on, or even encouraged to carry on and feel valuable, I will be the last generation of farmers. When I can go back, I am a 5th generation farmer. On my side, my husband's side was the 4th generation farmer. And we have made sacrifices. We haven't gone out. We haven't had expensive holidays. We have reinvested and been frugal and speculated to get to where we are now. So it's not without sacrifices, which many other small businesses are the same, but they don't have the capital investment needed to be able to work like we do. We are being cornered in every direction. We've never ever let you down to feed you. We have never not worked and produced food correctly, efficiently, professionally, economically and accountably. But
having spoken to you this morning, the crux of it seems, from this inheritance tax that's going to be brought in, that it will mean you simply won't expand anymore.
Correct. We won't have the incentive or the passion to carry on at the speed or at the rate that we work and that we invest, because it won't be worth it.
So what would you say? Because there's been a rather large conversation around well, farmers should pay their fair share of tax because other people have to pay inheritance tax. Mm-hmm. What makes you different?
I agree, farmers should pay their tax, but our industry, again, is similar to a lot of other small businesses, but the investment for us to get a return out of is colossal that we've made. It's between -2% and 2% profit in the last 20 years. Non-farming people speak to me about why do we do it, and what much better return we get by investing our money in houses to rent out or into stocks and shares. But that wouldn't feed the world. And again, we are passionate about what we do. So I don't know all the answers to that. I think it is fair that we are taxed. Again, we pay income tax, we pay our community charge, we pay our business rates on the shop, we pay our road tax, we pay all the taxes that we are asked, but we are just asking for the property relief and the business relief. Inheritance tax
tax on our asset to be able to pass it on to the next generation to carry on within this industry.